Most adults are behind on at least one routine cancer screening. That's according to a survey by the Prevent Cancer Foundation. This morning, we welcome the CEO of the foundation, Jody Hoyos. Jody, good morning. Thanks for being here. Your data shows that most adults are not getting screened. Why is that?
Good morning, Brandy. The Prevent Cancer Foundation's early detection survey found that nearly 7 out of every 10 adults in the U.S. are behind on at least one routine cancer screening. So that means 7 out of every 10 of us are missing an opportunity to prevent cancer, which would be the ideal, or detect it early when we have the best chance at having the best outcomes. So it's really important that we're sharing information about cancer screenings and what people need to know for their own health.
Right. So Jody, tell us again, why do you believe folks are not getting screened?
The top reason why people are not getting screened is simply because they don't know they need to be screened.
Okay.
So this was true across nearly all populations surveyed. And we do have additional information when we look across different racial and ethnic groups as well.
What do you believe was the most alarming about your research that you found?
The alarming part is that we have the power to prevent up to 50% of cancers. So with the information we have today and with the screenings that we have today, we have the ability to have much better outcomes for people. What's alarming is people don't have the information they need to advocate for their own health. So I think that's the real takeaway here is we need to make sure information that they need.
And you talked about people not knowing that they need to be screened. How important is that family history and knowing that family history when it comes to cancer screenings?
You know, I don't want to undermine or misrepresent the importance of family history of cancer. It is important. If people have a family history of cancer, they should get that information if they can, so that they can talk to their providers about when to start cancer screening and the frequency with which they need screening. But one of the troubling things is that there's a big misconception that people who have a family history of cancer or don't have a family history of cancer don't need cancer screenings. So the number 2 reason that was cited in our survey for why people are not being screened is that they didn't have a family history, so they weren't worrying about it.
Sure.
The truth is, most people who get a cancer diagnosis don't have a family history. About 5 to 10% of cancers are hereditary. So we want everyone to know, regardless of your family history, you need to be screened for cancer.
What do you think it would take to encourage more people to schedule their screenings?
We know that more people are encouraged and will schedule their screenings once they know the benefits of early detection. The other factor that there was consensus on is that people need to be reminded about the screenings that they need, and we need to make it easy for them to schedule the appointments. So things like text, email, phone call reminders about screenings, as well as the ability for people to schedule their appointments online or through an app would go a long way in making sure people are getting their best chance at health.
Absolutely, making it much more convenient for people given their busy lives and busy schedules. Once again, for our viewers, preventcancer.org/better outcomes does have an interactive tool for you to get more information on those screenings. Jody, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.